Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's Matthew back with another episode of Watty's channel. Continuing on with the second video of round 3. This is the My Favorite LJN Tournament Revisited. We completed the first episode, first 7 matchups. We're going to have another 7 matchups this video. And we will conclude with the last 6 matchups here of round 3 in the next video. So a lot of good ones here and a couple surprise matchups going back to back. That's going to be towards the end of the video though. So not much to say. We are going to dive right in to the next tournament or the next set of matchups. And I know you guys are going to hate me, but again, these are all based on how they're displayed on my shelf. So you might think it's an unfair advantage, and it is, but we are going to feature Kamala against Mega Powers Elizabeth. So, as you can see, my figures keep falling off the shelf, so I decided to take my Kamala figure right there and just grab one of the duplicates instead. Now, as you know, Kamala, one of my all-time favorite figures, especially among LJN originals, an absolute perfect fighting pose for the figure. Something that I covet about these figures includes the arms up and out, as well as the extended legs and the bent knee. Because this figure, like, Big John Studd or King Kong Bundy, Andre even, with the added weight, to me, the weight means value, and I absolutely love that. I love the bulkiness of the figure. At first, when I saw this whole hand extended version, I didn't really like that. But then once you start using it, you kind of give it like this Undertaker under the chin chop type of deal. So it gives him an alternate fighting technique, which I really appreciate. So perfect body slam pose and perfect to be body slam pose. Absolutely phenomenal. Great graphics and design on the overall figure. An absolute elite figure among the LJN originals. Now, I've said it before, I was never a huge fan of the Elizabeth figure simply because it is such a Barbie-like figure. It's not an actual wrestling figure. And, Mattel and all these other companies, they do the exact same thing. They give it these really tiny bodies, small hands. Obviously you can't use Kamala because that's a bad example, but Jake Roberts or, something like that. Even the British Bulldogs, some of these smaller figures, Slick. I think Slick was even too small too, but you can take like a Jake Roberts figure or something and make a female wrestler with that size. They don't have to look fat just because, you put them in that tone. Yeah, they're excessively small, thin, got it, 110, 120 pound girl, but when you make them like this, it's just throwing shade at female wrestlers or managers. So I'm not a huge fan of that type of design of female wrestlers. Otherwise, when you look at this figure from Stenger GQ, the artist that did this did an absolutely phenomenal job. The original Elizabeth is a great figure. Absolutely love what Robert Jackson did with his Elizabeth figure, and with Stenger GQ from his collection with this version. It is a fantastic figure. And like I said, if this was a non-Barbie-esque figure and actually had a decent, size and playability to it, this particular figure, I don't think it would win, but it would still go, I think, a whole lot further. But, I mean, you can't really beat around the bush. We know right off the bat Kamala isn't really losing to anybody right now. Kamala is going to annihilate Elizabeth, but at the same time, you got to give credit where credit is due. The artist who did this figure did an amazing job. So we're putting Kamala over Elizabeth. So Kamala does move on to round 4. The next battle is going to feature from the Raider Nation a Coco Beware versus the original Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon defeated Bam Bam Bigelow in round 2 to move on to round 3. Oddly enough, when I did this first tournament, I believe Bam Bam Bigelow defeated Vince McMahon in round 1. So I did rectify a mistake. I kind of feel like the Vince figure is a much better figure than Bam Bam. Yeah, it has something to do with the pose. Now, Vince does have like this Ron Simmons glue hand fused to the body, which I absolutely despise. But Vince McMahon is not supposed to be used as a wrestler, whereas Ron Simmons for Gloop actually was. And with the microphone and everything, understandable. So many figures. They have like that pointy finger out, like Big Boss Man, a bunch of others. And even with the finger sticking up like that, I don't know. I don't like that. A lot of the LJN originals of Vince McMahon, they actually have this missing finger. So I keep seeing Vince McMahon on auction. I haven't bought one in a long time, but when I did see them, I kept buying them up, and they kept having the missing finger. So even though I was buying Vince McMahon, I was putting him in lots of other figures to make them more appealing. They don't sell because that missing finger. I think that has a great deal to do with it. Still a great figure. I mean, if you're a new collector and you're trying to get these figures, it's still a $110, $130, $150 figure regardless. Absolutely beautiful figure. Love it. Love the jacket and pants. Everything meshes well with this figure. And Coco Beware from the Raider Nation. Here's a tough spot because this is, if not number 2, I would say, maybe number 3 among my all-time favorite Raider Nation acquisitions. And I'd say number 2. I think I place it just slightly behind the Honky Tonk Man from the Raider Nation. I've talked about with the original figure. The hands, aesthetically, yeah, you want them to be more realistic as far as fighting. But if you got to use your imagination, it's still a very playable figure nonetheless. Is it a great body slam pose? Probably not. But you're not really looking at this type of figure as anything other than display purposes. And very few figures, if any, can display better than this Coco Beware figure. I think this figure actually was removed from competition either in round 1 or round 2 during my very first tournament. So being able to see him in round 3, and let's be honest, going against Vince McMahon in this round, yeah. Coco Beware, you will be seeing him in round 4. Coco Beware does defeat Vince McMahon. Before we do move on, I do want to show the viewers once again the overall display of the figure as we do a full 360. And what I love is, they take out the Coco B down here and throw the wear. His boots are right over here. It's so amazing. The overall paint scheme, color scheme of this figure is so well done. And again, it's kind of faded now, but KL for Kenny Lester from the Raider Nation, beautiful artwork. Easily becoming one of my all-time favorite artists. Such amazing talent. Coco Beware Custom defeats Vince McMahon Original. Also from the Raider Nation, takes on the very first competitor from XOX Customs. We have Honky Tonk Man versus Demolition Axe. And we do start with, and again with this particular figure, because his feet are always nice and tight inside the stand, we do get these stands from David Garland over on Etsy. If you ever get the chance to visit his shop, 4 Left 3D Creations, he does have some amazing stands. Now obviously some are better than others. I'm not going to sit there and say all the stands work beautifully. This stand for Honky Tonk, absolute perfection. It does such a great job holding the figure up, and like I said, his feet are so nice and tight in there, you never have to worry about it falling out. And in fact, it's so tight in there that, sometimes it might be difficult to get it out, which, again, for display purposes, you want that snugness, because you don't want these things falling over. Otherwise, you damage the color on the boots. He does have a lot of really great stands, for Legion of Doom, Strike Force, Heart Foundation, Demolition, Hacksaw, $1 Million Man. All these individual WWF emblem stands, they're all amazing. Again, not all of them work well. Bam Bam Bigelow, I don't recommend that one. To me, that doesn't really hold the figure up very well. But again, a stand like this is incredible. If you have any questions, I can always, make my recommendations. But again, we're not talking about the stand, even though I love it. To me, I start to feel like it's part of the overall display now. So this had a very tough competitor in one of my blue and gold custom Honky Tonk Man. I actually think I may have started liking the blue one a little bit better, but it's really tough to choose. They're both phenomenal pieces. And because I have this one longer and I had the chance to enjoy it longer, I think that might play a little bit of a role. Either way, this is a fantastic figure from the Raider Nation. Either this one or Coco. I have to probably go with this one first as my favorite Raider Nation acquisition. You know, the overall fighting pose of the Honky Tonk Man figure, it's good. Again, he comes with an excellent accessory, my favorite accessory among the line. You know, he does have that good punching and clothesline arm. You know, one arm body slam, again, not a fan, but, you know, it's better to have at least a one arm body slam for like Bad News Brown and Bulldogs as opposed to, you know, no body slam at all, like a Harley Race or a Don Morocco, for example. Absolutely fantastic piece. This one, when I did my last tournament, the way I harped on this figure, I honestly thought this one was gonna win. And if it didn't win, I thought I was gonna be in my finals, semifinals. So it did make it extremely far. Things change. Because I've still had more time to enjoy this figure, I could say that maybe this does win the tournament. Again, this is probably among 10 figures that I think have a legitimate chance of coming out on top. So, from the Raider Nation, Honky Tonk Man. And he does do battle with Demolition from XOX Customs. Right off the bat, the first thing you'll always notice is that stupid Jesse Ventura pose, which I do not like at all. This right here, this is the only purpose of that pose, and that's the whole championship belts in place. They did a phenomenal job with this. Now, let me backtrack a little bit. This was not purchased from Random Treasures. So I keep classifying it as an XOX custom figure, but it's not. This actually is an original Axe figure. You could tell based on the sort of rubber and, of course, the smell of the figure as well. You know it's not from Random Treasures. So what somebody did is they probably saw the Etsy page with Random Treasures design, and, you know, they imitated to perfection. So, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe they sent an Axe figure and they asked them to paint it. I don't know. I've been classifying this as an XOX Customs figure only for the simple fact of that paint scheme. So, but I keep this with my XOX Customs. I classify it as an XOX figure. It is an original Axe with the custom paint job. So I want to keep that as clear as possible. Demolition Axe is easily, aesthetically, one of the best looking figures that you'll ever find. Absolutely amazing. It don't matter if you look at the red face Axe or the gray face with red eyes. It is a beautiful figure. And if you're going off aesthetics alone, yeah, this is probably going to be among the LJN originals. You're probably looking at a top 10 figure based on that alone. Where I'd place it, who knows? I never really thought about it. Now, if I was doing a countdown of my all-time favorites, or count up, however you want to look at it, he probably wouldn't crack the top 40 of my list, and that's only because of the pose. But everything else about the figure, you know, either this one or the original, is absolute perfection. Now, these are two phenomenal figures, and I've been pushing a lot of figures that have gone so extremely far. In my last tournament, I basically been pushing them out within the first couple rounds. In this one, I don't remember how far this one made it, but do I dare continue that pattern and remove from competition figures that went deep last time and others that didn't go so deep? And I'm not doing that intentionally. It just so happens I'm choosing my favorite figure based on the particular competition. It just so happens a lot of the battles nowadays are, you know, pitting, you know, elite figure against elite figure. Not this time. I'm still going to stick with the Honky Tonk Man. I love the figure a lot. I just don't think it'll be able to go as deep in this competition as a lot of my other, you know, competitors. Definitely, I don't think it'll go as far as a Honky Tonk Man figure. So, this next matchup, this is not... So, obviously, with any of my Actually, I got rephrase that because I was about to say that I don't have any originals, but I do now. So I did buy an original Rick Rude LJN, and I have it displayed on my wall. I still have the XOX Customs Rick Rude down here. I recently bought a Haku about a month ago, original Haku, but whole face was like chewed off or something. So I sent that to one of my favorite people, Robert Jackson, to customize that and hopefully repair that if he can. So even if he does have to cut off the head, replace it with a new mold, I'm still going to classify that as an original. You know, that stencil is basically all we care about. You know, you get an Andre the Giant, you're not paying $500 on eBay for Andre the Giant. No. Now, this one is a custom, but you're paying $500 for that little white stencil on the bottom of the foot. That's what it's all about. I mean, is this a $500 figure? It's one of the most elite figures of the entire LJN line, but it's not a $500 figure. I don't care how vintage it is, you know, how valuable people place on it. If you had an original Andre the Giant Black Card Series 6 figure and it did not have that stencil, you could get $100 to $200 for it. But if you think you're going to get $500 for it, no. And that really sucks when you actually think about it. Imagine having the actual Black Card Series Original 6 Andre the Giant, and it could be in absolute mint condition, but for whatever reason, the Grand Toys stencil faded off over the years, and that's the only thing that faded. And then you list it on eBay, and you get $100 for it, and then you get someone else who's selling the Andre the Giant Blackstrap from Series 6 Original with just the most faded hair and singlet you've ever seen, just absolutely tore up with the stencil applied, and suddenly it's a $600 toy. I guess, you know, we all have what we're looking for. Just being able to get that Haku figure for me. And I also bought a Big Boss Man recently. Again, I'm going to send it to Rob, or I've sent it to Rob already. And he's going to touch it up, repaint it. And it also had a missing finger, so he's going to hopefully cast a new one on there. I don't know. He's the artist, so I'm gonna leave that up to him to make that determination how to do that. But again, they're still original figures with original stencils, so I'll have 3 out of 6 figures. Now with Warrior, Andre, and Warlord, you're probably looking at $1,500 for those 3 if you want to get them individually. So it may be a while. But from Wrestlingwriter, I did have the custom Blackstrap Andre Series 6 figure, and he is going against Random Treasures referee. Surprising to see the referee make it out of round 2, because referees all squared off in round 1. Understandably, yeah, you're going to see it in round 2, but to see it past round 2, I'm sure a lot of people were surprised. I really love the referee figure. Like, I think it's a better fighting figure than most, and I don't think that this would necessarily be out of the question to see this in a round 4 or even a round 5. I just think it's that good. I really enjoy it. It's laughable to even think for a second you're going to pick a referee or pretty much anything over Andre the Giant Blackstrap. So Andre the Giant Blackstrap is moving on to round 4. That's not even a question. And it's sad to think, when I did this tournament the first time around, he lost in the first round. That's because of who he squared off against. Such a great piece. And I already had Series 1 and 2 Andre moving forward, so losing Blackstrap Andre in the first round wasn't an insurmountable loss. But I'm glad I could see this one push forward at least a bit further. But do not take anything away from the referee. I mean, he's got kind of like that Terry Funk, one arm up, one arm down, like so many other figures have. And if you like Terry Funk, how do you not like the referee? I mean, it's the same pose. It's just mirror one each other. All right. So, anything else I could say about these particular figures? I brought it up in the last video that I did with Andre. So Wrestlingwriter, he kind of gave him like these little nice thick sideburns, which I think was pretty awesome. Kind of matching it up with a real life wrestler. I swear to God, man, I just want to, I want to wrestle these guys. They just look so much fun. But being an adult, trying to wrestle these, like, trying to pretend you're a kid again, and it's just so, like I said, it's just very uncomfortable. Not because you're embarrassed, because, I mean, like I said, who's around to watch you? No. It's embarrassing because you don't know what you're doing. Like, you don't wrestle these guys as an adult the same way you would as a kid. And so, you're like, trying to pretend to wrestle. But it's like throwing a baseball or playing a basketball. So what do I mean? So as a kid, you're outside, you're playing baseball or you're playing catch or something. You're out there, you're throwing the ball, yada yada yada. You know, the way that you wind up and throw the ball, it's just normal. It's just how you throw. But imagine not playing catch or just simply not even throwing a rock for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And then picking up something and giant throw. There was one guy I was in Afghanistan with, and we were playing it's called pigeon hole. It's called something hole. I forget what it's called. Basically, it's a big squared board with a little hole in the middle and little hacky sacks, whatever. And you're throwing it from a distance. Hopefully, a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. Anyways, and just kind of like seeing him like, seeing him like pick up the bag, kind of like hold it like this, and just the way he was trying to force it, it was funny. But I'm like, I don't know, maybe a year ago or so, like I picked something up, I tried throwing it, and it just felt so awkward. Like I felt like my whole wind-up was weird. And, it's like when you're in school and your handwriting is perfect, and then you go on summer break, you don't write for 2 months, you come back to school and you start writing, and your writing is chicken scratch. It's because you haven't done it for a couple months. And so playing wrestling as an adult, I kind of feel the same way. It's just not comfortable. You don't do things the same way you did as a kid. I pick up a basketball, try and shoot hoops. The way that I set up and shoot, it's just not the same. It just feels awkward. All right, I'm going to shut up about that stuff now. I'm going to get back into the actual battles. This battle right here sucks. I want to throw this one down. I want to pick something else. This is terrible. 2 of my absolute favorite figures, or 2 of my top 10 favorite figures, squaring off in round 3, and this is terrible. Currently, I do have 3 Ultimate Warrior figures in this competition. So, I mean, just saying that doesn't mean that Big Boss Man's going to win just because I have 2 other Warriors to fall back on. But again, when I did the first tournament, I had the Wrestlingwriter custom, and I had this one, and I chose the Wrestlingwriter version. This time, because they're all different poses, I let them all be their own wrestler, be their own figure, so that gave Ultimate Warrior essentially 3 opportunities to win this competition. This is an absolute perfect piece. This is better than the new version that Random Treasures came out with. I love the new Ram Treasures version, but I still prefer the original. It just has a better fighting pose, better for body slamming, clothesline. You could do the right arm under. You can still do the left arm under too, but it works better with the right. Kind of like I don't have it over here, but like SD Jones with the one arm out, kind of like a choke slam type of pose. And, it's good, It's just an all-around fun figure. And the way that Random Treasures did the perfect scheme with the warrior masks, all of the boots. This is phenomenal. All around, just a perfect figure. And I get it. We all have our own opinions. I complain about a lot of things that other people are probably obsessed with. We all like what we like. I guess because I love this figure, obviously I'm not happy when I hear other people complain about it. Again, it's all personal preferences, and to me, it's just a fun figure. I really enjoy it. And, Big Boss Man, like so many other figures, Rick Martel is a good example, Jim Brunzell, Hacksaw, with all these figures that have, thumb up or index finger sticking out, and a little, like, what's up with that little pointer finger? Like, are you actually coming up to someone and like poking them? Like, I don't understand what that's all about. Why so many of these figures have that pose? I mean, other than that, I mean, he has an awesome accessory, which is always a bonus. The figure looks absolutely incredible, and he has a perfect fighting pose, no matter how way you look at it. I'm not gonna do the right arm under because of the nightstick, but these are about as good of a figure as you're gonna find in the entire LJN line. I always say that Series 1 was my favorite because of the figures you had in there. The Volkoffs and the Junkyard Dogs, the Hogans, the Studs, and the Giants. Series 6 finally got that series going strong again when you had figures like Warlord, like Andre the Giant, like Warrior, like Boss Man. Rick Rude looks great. It's just not a playable figure, which makes it the worst of the line. But I don't know. Like, you had a few good figures here and there, like Bundy and Greg Valentine, etc., SD Jones, but like nothing that really stood out to the effect of these type of figures. Yes, Valentine and SD Jones were those particular figures, but they were just so far in between with really excellent figures. And Series 6 hit it out of the park with these type of action figures. I'm gonna go with Big Boss Man. So, yes, I have two other Warriors in competition still. That really didn't play a role. You could have seen all three figures end up towards the end, because I think with the amount of figures that I have, with the amount of battles, I think the finals is going to feature 3 wrestlers, not 2. And so if I do it that way, yeah, if I kept this Warrior in competition, you very well could have seen all 3 Warriors in the finals. But the way that they're kind of situated next to each other, I don't know if you necessarily would have done that either way, because you would have had to have one defeat the other within the next couple rounds. I don't think they would have all made it to round 7. Great figures. I'm going with Big Boss Man once again over Ultimate Warrior. I hate losing that figure. If it was like a round 4, round 5, fine. But anything below round 4 just sucks. And what I mean, as far as having them go square off way before then, you've got Ram Treasures Volume 2 Ultimate Warrior squaring off against Warlord. So, let's say this Warrior wins, and let's say that Warrior won. Next tournament, or the next round, you probably would have seen those two square off. And if they were fortunate enough not to face off against each other, and they did win their respective matches, they would have faced each other in round 5, definitely. So, I don't think you'd have seen them all in round 6 or 7 anyways, but... So, 2 fantastic pieces, and what I love about them both is that they both relatively have the exact same pose. So, you're not losing anything with one or the other. With Warlord, you've got this amazing face paint, as does the Ultimate Warrior. The way that they got this dual color of the hair is remarkable, but the overall head sculpt of the Ultimate Warrior, it's possibly a top 10 head sculpt with the hair. Absolutely remarkable. Here's where I think you could really draw the line. An all-black figure compared to a multicolored figure that really stands out. You've got these little, they're not really accessories, but these little build-on strings are just so amazing. And they don't actually move. I mean, they pretty much stay in place. I mean, you could move them, I guess, but you're not trying to. And these amazing boots. I mean, look at that. Incredible. You might think, when you first hold them up and you talk about some of the added benefits, that the Ultimate Warrior is, a guaranteed answer. But even though I got this from Ram Treasures, again, I classified it as an original. And it's really hard for me to not push forward an original figure over a custom when the right circumstance presents itself. So, this is one of those instances where there isn't a wrong answer. These could be 4th or 5th round figures if they weren't squaring off against each other. Absolutely love both. We have one matchup to go, and we're already at 29 minutes, so yes, I am going to go with Ultimate Warrior. No, it wasn't because the previous Warrior was eliminated from competition. I just think that the overall Volume 2 from Random Treasures just does enough to make it a truly remarkable figure. And I really want to get this belt like wrapped around his waist, but I can never get done so. So I try to get it wrapped around his arm. And it's really struggle here to get over that, get it past these little clips here. I don't know what belt that is. That might be like a Jack Pacific belt or something. I think I bought a bunch of random belts on eBay, and it was purple, so I figured, you know what, let me put it on Ultimate Warrior. And then later on, I got the Volume 2 version, or maybe I got the Volume 2 first, I can't remember. Yeah, see, I'm like really struggling to get it past that hook, so I'm just going to slide it underneath the bottom. That looks good still. Alright, so the last matchup of this video is going to feature Hawk of Demolition against Brother Love. So here's the interesting thing about these two figures. When I did my Random Treasures exclusives review, I rated Brother Love just above Hawk among my favorites. Question is, do I do the exact same thing in this round and move Brother Love past Hawk again? I might like this as a better figure, but realistically, you know, sometimes you would have to imagine that the actual wrestlers would have priority over the managers. I mean, it's, you know, you can pretend with this. You're not looking at it from a playability pose. Not really. Not with these type of guys. But, you know, Hawk, it's good. It's just not a great pose himself. You know, you're basically looking at the same overall pose for the most part. I absolutely love the red velvet cake look of a Brother Love figure, and there are just so many pieces about this figure that really, you know, that I really focus on, such as the red face, you know, just enough pink there, you know, and that's not like, you know, cherry red or apple red or like you'll see some customs, and everything with like the little decal, the rose, and the little pocket square. They just did a really fantastic job with this one. I think overall, if I was looking at these two figures, I still feel like I like the Brother Love version a little bit better. But in this tournament, I am sticking with Hawk to move forward to round 4. And yes, I do think it has something to do with the fact that he's a wrestler, and that does give it a little bit of a leg up. And just some of the other accessories I've talked about in the past, you kind of like the way he kind of gets his muscles up and makes that little muscle hinge. That is so awesome. That is super cool to be able to do that. The way they get those muscles up in there, that's incredible. And just the overall is perfect. I like the Hawk figure better than Animal based on pose, because Animal is just simply hands up like so. Even though if I had to choose, I choose Animal because of the facial paint is a better color scheme. Legion of Doom does make it to round 4. Based on this battle, he might square off against Ultimate Warrior possibly in the next round. We'll see when the time comes. Hawk, Legion of Doom, moves on to round 4. Brother Love out after 3 rounds. And I hate to kind of feel like I've rushed through a few of these matchups, but I'm trying to stay away from 40-minute videos, but I just can't help it sometimes. We got one more video. I will most likely complete that today and complete round 3. And, you know, when I completed the first round video, I said I wasn't going to come back down here to make any, not for at least a month or so, until I've been able to post all the other videos. But because I'm getting ready to leave soon, I want to make sure that this tournament's complete. Question is, when I do complete the videos and I do leave out on deployment, how am I going to post them? I could set them up in YouTube and see if I could schedule, you know, release date and time. But I don't know if that works or not. If it's going to work, I don't know. I'll figure something out. Maybe I'll be able to post it while I'm overseas. We'll see. And there's no guarantee I'm going to take the job. anything could come up. You know, I might get a stateside position and say don't need to go back overseas. So we'll see when the time comes. And I'm sure I'll do a fill-in video, you know, if I do leave. Let you know, guys know what's happening. All right. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Leave a comment, ask questions. Let me know what you think. And I will talk to you in the comments. And I will see you soon in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.